Hi, I'm Barbara. Welcome to Mess TS. Today I'm going to show you some techniques involved in the making of an upholstered headboard. There's another video on our channel called Making an Upholstered Daybed that takes you from the whole process of plywood all the way through the finished stage of pillows, bedding, ready to go into the Oregon Street of Dreams. If you want to see the entire process, watch that all the way through and then come back here to see the techniques and the exact steps that I use to make that bed. We're going to make a miniature version today because it's easier for me to do up on top of this table, but all of the techniques apply directly to that other project as well. The first thing you need to do is obviously measure the size of your bed. How big do you need your headboard to be? Most headboards are at least 2 inches wider than the bed on either side to give yourself some room for the bedding to go over the edge of the mattress. So don't make the mistake of making your headboard too small. You want it to feel generous. So once you've determined that, go to your local lumber yard and have them cut a piece of at least 1/2 inch plywood, the size that you need. Then you're going to get some foam. Use real foam rubber. They've started making something new that's kind of just really thick tufted Dacron, and it doesn't hold its shape as well as real foam rubber, but real foam rubber can be very expensive. I saw some 5-inch today actually for $74.95 a yard. So watch for those deals, use those 50% off coupons. My favorite trick is to use one of the camping pads that are 3 feet by 6 feet. Sometimes you can find those not even at sewing stores. Look at outdoor stores, Costco, wherever, for $19.95 sometimes. That is a great tip. Then take your Dacron wrap. This is the kind, not that you would stuff into pillows, but the kind that you would use as a quilt filling. You're going to actually wrap the entire thing and staple it. So you're going to lay this on the floor like a sandwich. Start with your Dacron wrap. Make sure it is completely flat and wrinkle-free, at least as much as possible. It'll help when we pull it tight with staples to get the rest of the wrinkles out. Then put your foam rubber. I want to use, if you're using more than one layer like I have here, I got a great deal on 1-inch foam. So I went ahead and got 2 1-inch pieces. You're not going to see it. It's going to be wrapped like this and then there's going to be fabric over it. What's actually here, all that's important is that it holds its shape. But if you're going to do that, I would probably use a fabric adhesive to make sure that it doesn't move or change during the making of the headboard, especially if you're making like a king-size headboard or a day bed like you see in the other video. That is a very large piece and things can shift easily when you're moving around it and trying to get things done. Then you need to know what kind of fabric you're going to use. On our day bed, we used a brown micro suede. This one is actually one that I used for my boys' bedroom. I love using this faux micro suede because it's got a sophisticated look, but it's soft. It can grow with them. It works for my kids all the way into their teenage years, but it's appropriate in a younger kid's room. Denim is also always a great choice for a boy's room, but I did want to mention, because I used denim in the other video, that you want to be careful. Denim is a natural cotton fabric that will stretch just on its own. Think of your jeans that you wear, they stretch. But you want to make sure when you buy it that you can't stretch it on its own. This one is great for pants or a skirt, but it has a ton of lycra in it. And it is going to be a nightmare to work with. It's going to cause wrinkles. It's not going to hold its shape. It's going to sag. Make sure you get the sturdier stuff. So we're just going to use our denim today to cover our buttons as a fun accent. I'm going to show you how to tuft a button. So we'll set that aside for now. And we are going to get started. I will show you all of the different things that we use at the step where we use them. So if you don't need to know about it and you're not going to make a button, you can skip that part. We're going to start by taking the center of each side, pulling it back, and using your staple gun. The purpose of doing the center of each side is just so that it doesn't get off center and pull in a crooked direction. You want to make sure everything stays even. Once you get the center of each side, take a peek and make sure that you don't have any big wrinkles. And I don't. I'm in good shape. So once you do that, then you're going to start just going around. And I've already started over on this side. And I have staples every inch. They could even be closer. You want to have more staples than you think you need so that there is no uneven tension on your foam. You don't want the edges of your headboard to look wavy where the staples pull it in. And if I did that, I mean, you can see I could create a looped, a dippy, scalloped, whatever you want to call it effect. It doesn't look good. Then, when you get to your corners, you're wrapping them a little bit like you would a package. Cut a triangle out of the corner. So you're going to cut all your excess off. I've already cut my triangle off. Bring the edge really close to that corner. Anything else, cut off. Staple it right on the corner. Then you're going to fold this under, and like the neatest package you've ever wrapped, you're going to make sure there's as few wrinkles or bumps as possible. Depends on what style you want your headboard. I'm totally fine with mine being a little bit rounded. Plus, we're going to use some decorative trim around the edge. So we're going to get a nice defined corner. But we don't want too much bulk there. So a million things. Then go through and cut off your excess. Now we're assuming that this headboard is going to be against a wall. But I still like to put a back on it because you never know. Sometimes you pull it away from the wall to make a separation in a room. If two kids are sharing a room, maybe they're back to back. You want to make the back nice and smooth as well. So we go all the way around like that, and then we move to the fabric. I'm going to lay out my fabric and we'll start on that. All right, so once we have our foam completely attached, now remember I'm just showing you the techniques today, so I haven't finished all the corners all the way around. You would want to have the entire thing finished to your satisfaction. Then you're going to lay the fabric out. Steam it, iron it, whatever you need to do, get it ready first before you put it on the bed. Don't try and fix any wrinkles afterwards, it never works. Start in the middle sides just like we did with the Dacron and work your way around, checking regularly for wrinkles. Again, make very careful corners. And this time we'll cut off our triangle. So we know that it needs to come up and be stapled down. It's going to be about 1 inch taller than the corner. So I can hold my hand there, stand it back up, and cut across the corner. Honestly, most of these things don't matter if they're exact. They only matter if they're too short and you can't get it there. So err on the side of having a little extra fabric to play with. Don't cut away too much. And again, be very careful with your folding so you're not making extra wrinkles for yourself. Now that one, okay. When I was making the full-length stop action, what you did not see was how many times I took the staples out and redid a side to make sure that it was even, or because I caught the fabric in the wrong place. Don't be afraid to try something that you've never done. Undo it and do it again. So right here is a perfect example. I accidentally caught the corner of this fabric with my staple for over here. So if I were fully prepared, I'd have a regular screwdriver to remove that, or you can use pliers. I'm just going to use a pair of scissors, take my staple out, and do it again, so I don't have wrinkles in the corner. It's more important to not have the wrinkles than to be worried about how many times it takes you to do it over again. Plus, you'll notice if you watch the stop action video, it took me 2 afternoons. When you get tired, stop. It's not a marathon. It doesn't matter if you get it all done in one day. It's more important that you get it done the way you want it done. Once you have the fabric all the way attached, all the way around, all 4 sides, whatever your finished size is, then we're going to put the fabric that goes on the back. I would give yourself at least 6 extra inches in every direction. Once again, just so you have more fabric than you need in order to make mistakes, to do it over again. It would be way worse to have too little. This piece that I'm using today does not cover the whole back because I'm just going to show you the technique involved in using the tack board and applying the tacks so that you get a great trim edge on your headboard. But normally, this would cover the entire back plus at least 4 to 6 inches in every direction. So, our headboard is finished meticulously. I have taken out all the screws that were wrong or the staples that were wrong. I've put them all back. I've got no wrinkles. I have it exactly the way I want. So now I'm going to finish it. I'm going to put my fabric for the back over the corners at least a couple of inches. Then I'm going to use, this comes on rolls, which are, I don't know, 50 feet, 25 feet. You can get an entire roll if you're going to do a large thing, or they come in these little 3-foot strips. I would actually recommend getting a roll because there's less seams or areas for you to deal with. I just picked up these 2 in order to show you how to do this. What we're going to do, you can do this with an iron if you like, if you're concerned that you're not going to be as precise as you might want to be. If you're going to do a DIY project, there's no point in making it if it's going to look totally DIY when you're done. So it's the little tiny finishing tricks that are going to make it look like a very expensive upholstered headboard. And one of them is getting a crisp edge with this tack strip. Ever wondered how upholsterers get their edges perfectly? They have little cardboard pieces inside, making sure that it lines up perfectly. They're not magic, they just have tricks. So, once we have it in where we want it to be, I'm going to put 1 staple into it on the edge. Now remember, hold on, I want to make sure I get it right. Remember, we chose 1/2 inch plywood for this exact reason. We needed an edge to be able to staple and nail into. I am going to remove that staple and this staple that's going in at the very beginning. They are just placeholders. So, at your hardware store, at your sewing store, in the hardware section of it, where you find drapery, hardware, upholstery supplies, you will find this. This is called Decorative Nail Head Trim. We don't have to nail every single nail head in. They come in this great long strip. So, you only put a nail in, one of these tacks in, every 5th one or so. Where'd my scissors disappear to? Let's open up the package. Get all the tape off of it. Okay, so this is going to be our edging. This happens to be a shiny silver. They come in brass, they come in antique silver, they come in antique brass. Pick the metal that works the best for you. Right now, mixing metals is very hot. So if you live in a house that has brass light fixtures and you feel like they're a little dated and you want to put silver, bright chrome pieces in the room, you can totally do that. Mixing metals is completely acceptable right now. It's actually very on trend. So, I'm going to start with my very first. Now, I would start at the corner right? Because we would have fabric all the way there. I don't need to do any part of this that isn't going to be seen. No need to do the bottom edge. I would start at the bottom corner. For purposes of demonstration, I'm going to start right at the edge of my denim because what's the point of showing you right over the fabric? There are tiny holes in every 1, 2, 3, 4, every fifth nail head has a tiny hole in it. So we're going to lay it there and put our decorative nail head right through the hole in the trim. Now, I will tell you that I actually have a tack hammer, which is a small little hammer with a pointed tip so that you can be more precise. But of course, I couldn't find it today. So if you don't have a nail head, a tack hammer, use a regular hammer. Use maybe a smaller one so you don't dent them or damage them, and just use a light touch. You'll be totally fine with a regular hammer. We're not doing anything so intricate as the curves on a chair or something that might require that exact precision of a tack hammer. This is really and truly it. There's no magic secret beyond the tack strip and buying the right materials and making sure your edgings are on there correctly. So you're going to go around the entire thing. You're going to go around the corner like this. Now, the secret on the corner is you have to make sure that the part that's exposed on the corner is what you want to see. And then you're going to cover it with your nail head trim. So this cardboard will run around the corner. You will still fold the denim over it. You're just going to spend a little extra time and make sure you fold it flat. You can stick a staple there if you need to. I'm going to go right over the top of my staple, so I don't even actually have to remove it. But if it was going to be visible, I'd just pull it out. Do that all the way around. Now, in the daybed, we did also make a surround that went all the way around the outside of the bed, and that would be just at least a foot high, the same exact length as your headboard. You're going to build it the exact same way as this, but don't bother with the nail head trim or even the backing. I just used the micro suede, the batting or the Dacron, the foam, and I wrapped it, and there were exposed staples on the inside because it was down on the ground and it had the metal bed frame and then the box springs and the mattress. Nobody could see inside of that. I would probably put a little furniture glider to keep it off the floor a little bit in case some liquid spills in there so you don't get mildew or mold. But there was nothing secret about that. And then somebody asked how I attached that to the headboard. I just used L brackets. I used L brackets all the way around. One at the bottom, one at the top. If I was actually, now I installed this for the Street of Dreams, so it was an exposition piece, but it's being used in our house now, in a guest bedroom. So 2, if I was using it in a children's room, maybe 3, so that it's extra secure if they're jumping on the bed or rolling around. And that was how I made the surround. No secret there. The only other secret left, and it's not a secret, the only other trick left was I button tufted the front. Now, the one thing you need to know about that is if you're going to put a button in the front of your upholstery and have it be part of your decoration, so you're going to have a big button here and it's going to show like a sofa or a chair, you need to do it before you attach the backing all the way around because you want what's there hidden by your fabric on the back side. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to drill 2 little holes where we want our button. And then I'm going to show you how to make the button and how to install it. Well, that was lovely. Now, the reason that we put 2 holes where we want our button is exactly the same reason that you have 2 holes in a button. We're going to attach it with a needle and thread. These are upholstery needles. They come up to a foot long. We don't need it to be that long. We just need it to be as long as the thickness of our headboard. So I'm going to choose the longest one just for ease of demonstration. They are called, this particular one is by Dritz Home, and it's called a decorator's needle. I'm going to use the longest one. Then I have waxed button thread. Now, all of these are found with the upholstery supplies. Don't go looking over with the sewing machine thread. It will not be there. This is very, very strong, and it's waxed like a dental floss would be waxed, so it moves easily through all kinds of layers of stuff. So now we're going to make the button that we want to attach. You can buy them in a package in many places in the sewing store. This is called a make to match button. They come really large in the upholstery section again. And everything you need to make a button that matches or contrasts with, it's fun to put a different fabric in there, is in your package. On the back, you get a pattern. You're going to lay that, it's obviously half of a button. You're going to lay it on a folded piece of your fabric, cut around it, get a circle. You're going to lay that circle inside the rubber ring that is provided in the package. Put it so that the side you want shown is down. Center it on there so that your edges are even. Put the rounded side down in there, press it all the way snugly into the rubber ring. That is what pulls it completely taut. Fold every single part of your edges in, don't leave anything out because that part will unravel. Then take your cap. Every set's a little bit different. This one is a very easy set. You don't even need the little pusher piece that some sets require. This has a locking mechanism in the plastic that just locks it right into place. You take it out of there, you have your perfect button. So, in order to attach the button, we've got our 2 small holes that we drilled earlier that are like a buttonhole. Take our giant needle. Now, I actually went down a size on a needle because you want to make sure that your needle fits through your button. Push it all the way through to the front. Try not to poke yourself. Run it through the button. And then you're going to put it right back through the second hole. You're going to pull that as tight as you possibly can. That's how you get the tufting, as you pull it in. You're going to tie that into a knot, several knots. Now, I have done this with only 1 hole and tied it onto something else, but I recommend this method. I like having part of the wood holding my button taut. Cut off the extra. Proceed, once all your buttons are on the way you want them to be, proceed to finish your edges with the nail head trim. And you can see the entire finished product. I'll show you the little bit of tufted button here. Now, obviously ours is wrinkly because we didn't attach all the way, and we've got some sawdust from the drilling. But I think you end up with a great product. Take a look at the making of an upholstered daybed to see the entire process and the finished product. Hopefully some of these techniques will help turn your daybed or your headboard project or any simple upholstered project you have from a mess to a yes. Thanks for sticking with us.